How's it going, my friends? Well, let a guy in a wolf hat that you've never met tell you about depression. I'm making this video because I've been fascinated with moods, behaviors, and personalities, and the way that we deal with stress and anxiety, depression in our lives. For many years, I've never been a depressed person, but I've had bouts of depression, and I'm well aware of how debilitating it can be. I have suffered anxiety, and I understand what anxiety will do to the body and the mind. And it can wear you down, it can burn you out, it can cause you to sleep longer nights. If you're a stressed out person, you will sleep more hours to try to make up for, your body needs more healing. Let's just put it that way. The less stressed out a person is, the more refreshed they feel, the better they sleep. And when I'm anxious, I know it inside. It's hard to deny it because I'm so in touch with my own emotions that I'm well aware if something's really bothering me. Now, I wanted to get into some specifics about it, but I don't want to get into chemical names or neurotransmitters or any of this too much because it just goes over most people's heads. What I'm really trying to convey here is that depression is not well understood. And the reason why it's not well understood is because of the fact that two people can have depression from two completely different causes. And yes, there is brain chemistry involved, but it's not as simple as being able to take a pill that replaces a chemical. And I got my little book here. And I did do a little bit, just a quick scan over research before I did this video because I wanted to make sure I was up to date with any of the latest finds in the world of depression and anxiety. But I'll tell you, I've overlooked a variety of different journals and cases and how the drugs are claimed to work, SSRIs and MAOIs, which MAOIs are monoamine oxidase inhibitors. Now, think of it this way. Monoamines are, your body uses this to transport, let's say, serotonin or dopamine away from the cell. I'm going to try to put this as simply as I'm trying to understand it too. And monoamine oxidase is just what it sounds like. It's oxidizing the monoamine. So what they found is that if you have not enough or too much of these transporters and it's a very delicate balance in the mind, it could cause all types of problems with serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine, acetylcholine. I'm just going to have to read some of this stuff so I don't go too far into it, because I know I'm trying to keep this on a neutral ground. I'm definitely not a doctor, and I'm not a scientist. I'm an amateur researcher, but this kind of stuff is fascinating to me because I found that, one of the things that it says that the hippocampus plays a huge role in depression. And here's the part that fascinated me, and this is what I found out. Hippocampus tends to be smaller in people with depression. And in a small study of women who had severe depression, it said that their hippocampus was 9 to 13% smaller than those who didn't have as severe of depression. And the more bouts of depression a person had, the smaller their hippocampus tended to be. And what they found out was, and this is kind of fascinating, they believe that what you need to repair this is neurogenesis, that you can't just take serotonin or dopamine, obviously. You have to repair and regenerate the cells within the hippocampus. And this is why they think that antidepressants can take 3 to 4 weeks or longer to actually work. Because they're taking time to help your brain slow down whatever it's doing to damage the hippocampus and relieve the stress so it can start to build it back up. The one important thing to remember is if you're under constant stress and you're always in fight or flight mode, then your brain doesn't have time to... it would only be natural that the body would shut down its other behaviors, its other production, in order to produce more cortisol, stress hormone, to produce more blood pumping for the fight or flight. These things scare us. Now, I guess the message I'm trying to convey here is that it's a training thing. That you can't just take a pill tomorrow and feel good about something, nor can you just change your mind and decide to feel good. It's more like learning how to, it's like learning a new career. You have to slowly work at it each day, and it's something that I know that I got pretty far on, and then I still can fall a little bit out of grace when something bothers me, and I'm aware of that. And I think that during this election season, it was the perfect time for me to really see how much I was affected by external circumstances. Because I've never let politics affect me. And I never got angry during this whole election. It was more of a frustrated and I can't believe this is actually happening kind of thing. But I was completely in touch with my emotions the whole time to say, how is this affecting my mood, my sleep? Am I actually bothered by any of this? And the fact is, actually, I guess maybe it's that I wish it bothered me more. Because I went to sleep the night of the election, knowing that I was going to wake up and find out that Trump won. And for me, that was like, oh God, I can't believe this is happening. But I slept like a baby, didn't even wake up once and think about it. And it may sound trivial, but I'm using this as an example. I used to worry about things like going to work the next day. If I was building a cabinet or working on some base molding and there was a piece that was wrong, or I got frustrated at the end of the day and I got rushed, or I couldn't figure out how something was going to go together, I would sit and worry about it at home. And this worry causes anxiety, and this anxiety can cause depression long term. So it's my belief that chronic anxiety can lead to depression because all of these neurotransmitters are so intertwined with one another. And those who were abused as children, or those who had really rough lives, may be more prone to depression. But on the other hand, they may be less likely to be depressed. And that's because of this interesting fact I found. And they took into account more diagnosis and everything, but they said that people who were born after 1945 are 10 times more likely to have depression in their lifetimes. So I sat and I thought about this for a minute. I thought, these are the people who grew up during the war era, but people here in the U.S. weren't really exposed to it. It was like a gung-ho, feeling connected attitude with your country, but the wars were fought elsewhere. We weren't constantly bombarded with the media yet. We weren't bombarded with commercials and all the nonsense and telling us what we need to be good people and the things that we have to do to fit in. We just did them. But more than that, people worked. People went to work and they did their job and they figured they're going to go to heaven, whatever their life encouraged, whatever they decide in their life that is important to them. They were able to go out and actively pursue it. And today, there's more and more depression, there's more and more anxiety because not just what we're bombarded with, but the realities we create in our own minds about what's really going on in the world. We think it's a scary place. We're told it's a scary place. And by keeping ourselves, because I'd love to say that there's a them that keeps us scared. The fact is, we keep ourselves scared. There is a them that promotes all the stories that keep people like, oh my God, to see what's wrong with the world. But you have a choice as to how you're going to perceive that. And there is no magic pill that will fix this. I made a video about 4 years ago, I think, and it was like why antidepressants will kill you or something like that. And it was kind of a bold video, and I had a lot of people who agreed and a lot of people who didn't. And the discussions went back and forth about, some people had said that it really helped them, antidepressants. But others, of course, were on 4 or 5 different ones. They're trying to find which one works. And the thing that frustrates me is the doctors don't know what the fuck they're doing. The people trust their doctors. Unfortunately, they trust the pharmaceutical companies as if they're the ones who really have done the research. No, they found something works for a few people and they put it out there. A lot of the drugs that are on the market weren't originally created for what they're being sold for now. In fact, they're even giving out, opiate alternatives like, not naloxone, but buprenorphine. I think that they're giving that out to people for depression now, or anxiety, because opiates seem to affect people in that way. Here we are getting people addicted to opioids for depression, not knowing the long-term consequences that you're just destroying any chance of being happy naturally. And and who am I to say? I'm sitting here with my drug, and I'm not in denial. I have my coffee. I got my vape pen right here, and I love to smoke cannabis. I take my kratom in the morning. So what I found is that I'm not embarrassed about my usage of chemicals or compounds. Everything's a chemical. What I do is I try to keep doses at a level that will assist me at being functional, coherent, and feeling normal, because brain chemistry is complicated. And the world that we're exposed to does cause us grief and heartache, and it's hard to cope with that. And I'll say that I have nothing wrong with people who want to live a sober life, but when they tell others to live life on life's terms, it seems like they're very pushy quite often, as if they just can't understand how other people can want to get high or even change their perception in their mind. And there seems to be a desperate clingingness to some people to tell others you shouldn't take anything that changes your mind or alters your perceptions. And it's my belief a lot of the folks are saying that because they really desperately want to. Because if you've locked yourself out of a cup of coffee because you think it's a drug, then so be it. But other people do drink coffee, you know. I guess why I'm bringing this into it is to make sure that if you're a person who consumes substances and you're trying to figure out your depression, that they may be to blame, or they may be not. It just depends. But ultimately, the root of it comes from in your heart. It comes from your brain. It comes from your thoughts, your gut, how you deal with situations, the way you've learned to cope with what comes your way. And this is different for all people. But if you have a friend who's depressed and you're trying to tell them, hey, you just got to see things positively, just use caution. It's not that simple. There are genetic variations in certain genes which predispose some people to chronic bouts of depression. And they're still trying to figure out exactly how this works and how we can speed up or slow down these, monoamine and other transmitter or transporters for these neurotransmitters. And it's very complex the way that they work and interact. So it is kind of a trial and error thing. This is why people end up going to the doc and taking, 5, 6, 7, 8 different antidepressants before they find one that works. It's because we don't know what works. But a guy who decides to self-medicate smoking some cannabis, oh, no, you can't do that. It's just not, Of course that's changing now. See if I have any notes here that I want to share. So I mentioned the hippocampus is smaller in women with depression. Well, it says that stress can cause loss of cell production in the hippocampus. So stress causes this loss of cell production, and therefore, with less production, you have less neurotransmitters, and you end up creating this recycling depression that has to be dealt with by neurogenesis. Now, psychedelics, such as psilocybin mushrooms, have been said to be neuroprotective and maybe even neuroregenerative. So they've also found that by people who have taken a dose of psilocybin mushrooms have been symptom-free from depression for up to 2 months or more afterwards. So it would seem that there are certain compounds which can create a long-lasting effect. Could it be that during the experience itself, these cells are being produced? Or is it just a mindset that allows your mind to start to reproduce these things? And why does it only last a couple months? Some people, of course, have had lifelong changes from these things, but and it's not for everyone, but I know that psychedelics relieve my stress and anxiety for quite some time afterwards. And there's something to be learned from that. I'm not sure what. The 3 areas of the brain that are affected most by depression is amygdala, the thalamus, and the hippocampus. And the neurotransmitters that we have, serotonin, which deals with mood, and it has to do with pain as well. Dopamine has to do with reward and motivation. It can be good and bad, so it's not just good things. It's the drug that tells your brain, transmitter that says something is worthy of a reward or not. Norepinephrine, which is also reward and motivation. Acetylcholine, which has to do with memory and learning. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe sleep as well. And glutamate, that has to do with excitatory It's an excitatory neurotransmitter. And often that is overactive in people who have schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. And then there's GABA. And the GABA, obviously, that's a huge one now. It's supposed to quell anxiety. And a lot of people have been taking GABA. And a lot of folks have asked me about like 5-HT and things like this that they're taking as a supplement. I'm not sure what to think about all that stuff, you know? I mean, I don't have an opinion, because if it works for you, then right on. But I think one of the toughest things to understand is, say, placebo. Like, a lot of folks do believe in naturopathic medicine. For example, you can go down to the grocery store and you can buy a bottle of these Calms. They're called Calm. And you put them under your tongue, and they're supposed to relieve stress. And they're made from a variety of passion flower extract and stuff like that. Then when you really find out what it is, it's naturopathic medicine. Naturopathic medicine may as well be one drop of medicine in a 5 million gallon swimming pool. It's basically diluted and diluted again and again and again, and supposedly the water is supposed to retain that memory of the drug. Without getting into details of it, I believe that for a majority of it, it's just placebo effect. You're just drinking water. And there's nothing wrong with that. I almost envy those who can believe that when they take something, it's going to be effective. If you don't, then it may not be effective, even if it is something that would be effective. But if you do believe in something, if you're taking sugar pill and you really think it's working, then it may very well be. There have been plenty of people who have healed themselves through really believing that they're taking something. And that should work with depression as well. It doesn't have to be a wound or an ailment or a cancer, because depression and anxiety are like cancers of their own. They are like a disease. They can get worse and worse. And they're very crucial to deal with, because over time they cause our bodies to break down. And we become more and more anxious. And pretty soon the world looks like a scary place. And I know a lot of people who are anxious. I've met a lot of people who are very stressed out in life, who think that the world's crashing down around them. They think that there's wars everywhere, that everyone wants to get them. It almost leads to a paranoia. And then you have to stop and ask yourself, if you want to live like that, so be it. But is it helping you? Even if all of this is true and everyone is out to get you, isn't it healthier to just live your life and not worry about it? Because we have enough stresses about our personal lives. We have to stress about making enough money. If you're a father or a husband and you have to bring home money, you have to be able to pay mortgage, you have to help around the house, clean up, deal with kids, try to get them to brush their teeth and get to bed on time, get them to school, and all the meanwhile you're dealing with your kids' stresses, and then you're dealing with your own life stresses, you know, making sure that you're healthy, you're taken care of, and then worrying about what's going on in government, and then worrying about what's going on in a far distant land that we can't even see and have never been to. It's not that we shouldn't worry about these things. It's just that we need to be a little more selective about the things we do stress about, because it's going to overwhelm us. And as a society, it's going to cause us to be more and more paranoid of one another. And we're going to start to hate each other more and more because we're more and more scared. And it's nothing new, you know. Xenophobia is a result of an echo chamber, you know, speaking with people that you agree with and nobody else. And then when people are finally exposed to other cultures and other ideas, they actually get very stressed out and very anxious, and they can't deal with that. So their only recourse is to fight back with whatever they have. It may just be throwing around lies or fake terms. When you're confronted with other people's stresses and you don't agree it's a stressful thing, I mean, that's where government becomes a problem. That's where a society has a problem within its leadership, is when we all stress over different things and can't figure out what it is that we need to do. And that's where we're at right now as a species. So we'll see what happens. But don't stress. Don't stress. If you don't have to. Easier said than done, though.